Okay, hello. My name is Maya Andreasen, and we're going to go into kind of a quick Paint Effects tutorial. First thing that you need to do to get Paint Effects to effectively work is to make sure that whatever model you're using, if you're going to be painting Paint Effects on a surface, is to make sure that your UVs are laid out. So here are just some quick and dirty UVs for this proxy fence that I'm going to use so that I can lay out my uh, paint effects. If I was doing this properly, there would be no overlapping UVs. But for right now, just for this tutorial, just want to show you how you can very quickly use paint effects and that you do need to have the UVs laid out in some semblance of sense. So for example, if all of the fence slats were overlapped and so that it just looked like one fence slat, the paint effects would only be created on that one fence slat. So I have the four of them next to one another. They're not perfect, but you get the point. And for the purpose of this tutorial, this is what I did. So we have our fence slat and we want to make paint effects. So paint effects are an effect that's built into Maya, which allows you to make a lot of objects that they're not actual polygons. They literally are like a painted effect. You can convert them to polygons, you can convert them to NURBs. The thing you do need to keep in mind is that if you convert them to polys, uh, it can increase the size of your scene quite a lot. So I would use them judiciously. In this case, I want to show you how you could create vines on a fence. So we are going to go to our window here and we're going to go to the content browser. Now it has moved around a lot. So it used to be under general editors, but now it's down here under Windows content browser. So if you have Maya 2023, it might be in a slightly different place, but it is in the Windows section of your main menu. Okay, so we're already under plants, but let's kind of go in here and take a look at things. So when you first enter the content browser, you're going to twirl down examples, and here's where paint effects are, and we're going to twirl down paint effects. As you can see, there's a lot of paint effects here. We want to go down to plants. By the way, you can make food. You can literally grow food. Oh, they have corn. That's new. You can literally grow food very quickly. You can grow glass. You can grow liquids. You can grow hair. You can grow a universe. You can grow flowers and fibers and fire and so on and so forth. But what we want to create are plants. So we have plants and we have a plant mesh, right? So we have both of these, but I believe if you want to create vines, you have to go under plants. And there's brambles. There's several types of brambles. And then we have vines leafy and vine leafy thick and vine specular. There's even wax beans. So we can play around with a couple of them. We're going to start with the viney leaf. Now, in order to make it so that we can paint on this object, we have to make it paintable. So you're going to be in the modeling drop down, which is over here in the top left hand corner of your menu. And you're going to want to go to generate. And halfway down generate, you're going to see paint effects. Now, with the object selected, you make it paintable. So this is now a paintable object. So if I go to Viney Leaf, I should have a brush. I'm going to minimize this. Now to make the brush bigger or smaller, there's a couple things you can do. You can double click on this little icon over here in the toolbar. That is should be your paint effects tool brush, and here it is. You can reset the tool, you can make it bigger, do all sorts of fun things there, or you can press the letter B as in boy and keep it pressed, and while pressing down on it, simultaneously left mouse press and drag to the left or the right. So when we're dragging to the left and the right, we're simply making our brush bigger. And this works for any tool that has a brush. All right, and so now we can literally paint on our model. Now, as you can see, it painted a certain way. Now remember, the way I laid out my UVs, they're not perfect. If I had laid them out correctly, we could have vines on either side, but these are overlapping, and so it's just doing this front part of my fence. If I wanted on the back side of my fence, I would have to lay out my UVs correctly so that the back and the front are separate pieces, or that we can see them in the outliner. All right, now these are really big vines. So how do we change these vines so that they are a little bit more manageable? Well, if you go to the attribute editor, this is where we're going to find all of our attributes for our paint effect. And you can see it over here in the outliner. It's called Stroke Vine Leafy 1. So this is the basic attribute. This is the stroke vine leaf. So here you can change the density, you can view it on a plane, there's other inputs here as well, but really the meat and potato is under Viney Leaf 3. Here's where you get your global scale, so we can make it a lot smaller. If you wanted to, you could go in and change the twist of it, which is really cool. You can change your brush profiles, the softness, flatness, the depth, all that fun stuff. You can change the shading. So here's the color of it right here. Under shading, there's also tube shading, where you can really go into the nitty-gritty of how you want to change it. Illumination, that will make it kind of glow, but it'll give it like an illumination channel. There's texturing, there's shadow effects, so it'll cast a shadow. You can add a glow to it, and the glow is here. So let's say you had some mushrooms that you made and you wanted them to glow, or some flowers. This is where you would make it glow. You would increase the glow attribute, and you would change the glow color to whatever you want it to be. And if you wanted the glow spread to be wider, so if you wanted it to be glow brighter, you would increase that. And if you wanted to create kind of custom vines and things like that, that's where you get into tubes, creation, growth, behavior, all those things. But we're not going to go into this right now. This is a really simple tutorial of just painting some vines. Now we have two sets of vines here, and they're two strokes. And one stroke is a lot smaller than the other. Like if we go up to this one, the global scale is 4, and if we go to this one, the global scale is 1. So you can make them so they're both the same. If you select both strokes, you can go to generate, and you can share one brush. So under paint effects, there's share one brush, and if you click that, now they're both huge because of whatever I selected, I believe first. But I can go here and I can make this like 1.5, and both of these are a lot smaller. Okay. Now if I was to render this in Renderman, so I am going to save, it wouldn't show up. Like I could render this with some default lighting or with some regular lighting in Maya software. So wow, this is big. Let's make it smaller. Here we go. So right now it's under Arnold Renderer. So we're gonna, if I were to render it, the scene would be black. There's no lights in my scene. So I'm just gonna do Maya software so we could take a look at what this looks like. So I clicked the connect tool, which is Q. So we're out of paint effects now. And if I did a quick render, this is what this looks like. So it looks pretty cute, it's cool, but it's not really practical for how we want to use it. Like we would want to use this, we're using the Renderman renderer, so I'm going to change this to Renderman. But in Renderman, if I were to render this out, it would, first of all, it would be black because there's literally no lights in the scene. And it tells me, no, we can't do this. And even says there's no lights in the scene. So we need to create lights in the scene because it's just a black scene right now. So I am going to go to create, and I'm going to go to create lights. Oh, my Renderman lights are not here. So let's go over to Renderman, and we should have our lights here. And if we can't find them here, we can go to Renderman over here. Okay. So we can open the preset browser, and we could go to light rigs. I'm just going to create a really quick light rig right now. Now I could go to, I think this is my lights here. Yeah. This is a dome light, and these are my regular lights. So I can find them here. If for some reason you can't find them under the create button, they should be here. But I'm going to create a 3-point light. So I'm going to deselect, and I'm just going to import it into the scene. You see we have these 3 lights here. If I were to zoom out, these were where the lights would be. By the way, if you hit the brackets, that allows you to go back to your previous camera view. All right, so I'm going to select these lights, I'm going to group them, and I'm going to call this group 3-point lights. Let's save the scene. All right, so now that I have these lights, they're not super bright. I'm also going to create, I'd like an outdoor light. So I'm just going to import, hopefully, a dome light. Ah, there it is. So here's my dome light. I have it selected. I don't want it to be visible when I render this out, so I'm going to uncheck primary visibility in the render settings. Okay, so let's see if I can render it now. All right, so it renders, and as you can see, it's just gray. So what we need to do is we need to assign the current shaders, and I believe they are ramp shaders, that are on our object, and we're going to need to assign them to a Pixar ramp to a Pixar shader node. Before we do that, we also would like to, let's discard. Well, I also want to convert these. So I'm going to start with stroke vine leaf 1, and I'm going to go to modify, convert, paint effects to polygons options box. I'm going to reset the setting, and then I'm going to click quad. Now here's the thing about this. Right now it says 10,000 poly limit. You can increase your poly limit. I certainly hope I don't need more than 10,000 polys, and I'm going to apply. It did. It converted it. These are both polys, so it did work, and it's in a group. And right, if we were to go back up to the vine leafy 1, like it doesn't select anymore. So that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to select both of these, and we are going to delete by type history because we want to delete the history. Then I'm going to select the second vine leafy type, and I'm going to hit convert. And here we have it again, and I'm going to edit delete by type history. So they both have their history deleted, and now I no longer need this guy. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to shade these so that I can see what they look like in the Renderman. So I'm going to go up here to my hyper shade, which looks like a martini olive. The icon for it does, and I'm going to select it. These are the original ones. Okay, so as you can see, we have this ramp here for this one. All right, so this first one, we see this ramp, and it's kind of this lightish green to more of a splash of blue green, so a kind of yellowish green to a splash of blue green, but they're both greens, and they have mostly, mostly a pretty even mixture of blue and green in them, but one has a little bit more yellow and one has a little bit more blue. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a Pixar ramp. So if I hit tab in my work view here for Hypershade, my work area, I can do Pixar R ramp, and there it is. So there's a Pixar ramp. All right, so I want to make it the same color as this color or similar, or you could change it. Like you can make it crazy colors if you want to. So this color is selected first. And by the way, you can add new colors by just clicking anywhere in here, and then you can delete them by clicking the little X at the bottom. All right, so we have this one selected, and we're going to go here, and we're going to kind of go towards this area. And here we go. So we kind of have this one color. Now we're going to go over to the one on the right, and we are going to go in the very bright, and then I kind of want it grayer, brighter, and we're going to move it a bit. Okay, so now we have this color. It looks great. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to and if you can't find what you want right away, you can also go over here. So in the Create tool, I'm going to get rid of this one. Under Create, there is Picture Surface. So here's my Picture Surface. And here's my ramp. And I'm going to drag my ramp into my color channel here. And so this is this first one. I'm going to rename this Picture. So actually PS for Picture Surface underscore Vines 01. And I would like to assign it to one of these. So we're going to select both of these, assign existing material, and it's going to be this material. All right. So next, close that. So next, we're going to take a look at, I guess, this guy and this ramp. And we're going to hit Tab, Picture, Ramp. And this ramp we want to be this color, which is kind of this blue to this tan. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to create a blue, but not quite that light of a blue, or that bright of a blue. So we're going to maybe bring it down a little bit and bring it over. Maybe lighten it just a tiny bit more. Okay. And then we want a tan. So I'm going to start here. It's a terrible yellow color. And we kind of want it to be a little bit more tan. There we go. This is a nice color. That's great. This is what this is. Okay. So this is Picture Ramp 2, and we're going to hit Tab, Picture Surface. There it is. And this is going to be PS Vines 02. And we're going to put that in the color channel. And we're going to want to assign it to these. And we can always switch back and forth what we want it to be assigned to. All right, in here, I'm going to go Edit, Delete Unused Nodes. So the unused nodes are gone. I'm going to hit Save. Now we're going to try save one more time. And now we're going to go to Renderman, and we're just going to try rendering it out. Okay, so here we have it. And it's rendering out quite nicely. We zoom in closer, we can see the colors better. Like I said, we can always switch the shaders, and we can play around with them. All right, so this is a really quick and dirty way to make vines very, very quickly. Um, Remember, you can play around with the vines, you can make them a little bit different.